Let's look at how to solve three-part inequalities. If we're trying to solve a three-part inequality, we need to make sure that we're using our inverse operations, so we're undoing stuff on all three sides of the inequality. So our goal is still to get the variable totally by itself. If we look at this example 4, we have -6 is less than x minus 4, which is less than 1. So my goal here is to get that x by itself. If I want to get that x by itself, I need to get rid of that -4, so I'm going to add 4. And whatever I do in the middle, I have to do to both of those outside pieces. If I do that, it gives me -2 is less than x, which is less than 5. If I want to write this in set builder notation, I'm going to start with the variable I solved for, so that x, such that, and then I'm always going to have the smallest number, the variable, and then the biggest number in that order. So in this case, the way I solved it, it's already in that order. So I have -2 is less than x, which is less than 5. Another way to think of this is we could say that x is between -2 and 5. And that language helps us figure out how we're going to graph this. So when I graph it on the number line, in this case I need two numbers on my number line, the two numbers that x is being compared to. So I need -2 and I need 5. Now that symbol in between the x and that -2 is just a less than symbol. So I'm going to have an open circle on top of that -2. The symbol in between the x and the 5 is just a less than symbol. So I'm going to have an open circle on top of that 5. And then x is between them. So I just shade in between them. Notice I do not have any arrows attached because it doesn't continue on forever. It stops at -2 and it stops at 5. Now if I look at this next example, we have 3 is less than or equal to -4x minus 3, which is less than 19. My goal is still to get that x in the middle by itself. Pardon me. So I'm going to add 3 to all three sides first. That's going to give me 6 is less than or equal to -4x, which is less than 22. Then I need to get that x by itself. So I'm going to undo multiplication with division. I'm going to divide everything by -4. That gives me -1.5 x and -5.5. Now notice I divided everything by a negative number, so my inequality symbols need to flip. Now if I'm thinking about writing this in set builder notation, I need the smallest number to happen first. That -5.5 is the smallest number. So I essentially need to write this inequality backwards. If I do that, I'm going to have -5.5 is less than x, which is less than or equal to -1.5. Right? You can kind of think about it in pieces. If we look at this piece, that inequality symbol is open towards the x. And that's not what I wanted. And here with this piece, right, that inequality symbol is still open towards the x. And the same thing happens here, right? Here, that inequality symbol is open towards my -1.5. And here, my inequality symbol is open towards my -1.5. So when I write this in set builder notation, I'm saying that I solved for x, and I got -5.5 is less than x, which is less than or equal to negative 1.5. When I graph this on the number line, I need my negative 5.5 and negative 1.5. When I looked in between my x and that negative 5.5, it's just a less than symbol, so I need an open circle. When I looked in between my x and my negative 1.5, it's a less than or equal to symbol, so because of that equal to, I need a closed circle. And then I know my three-part inequalities are telling me that the x is between those two numbers. Let's look at one more. We have negative 6 is less than 1/2 n minus 4, which is less than or equal to negative 3. So I have a fraction. The first thing I'm going to do is get rid of it. Remember, to do that, we multiply by the LCD, which in this case is 2 because it's the only denominator. So in this case, I need to multiply every single term by 2. So I'm going to do 2 times negative 6. I'm going to do 2, or 2 over 1 times that 1/2 n. I'm going to do 2 times 4 and 2 times negative 3. So that's going to give me negative 12 is less than, those 2's will cancel out, n minus 8, which is less than or equal to negative 6. Pardon me. Now we need to get that n by itself, so I'm going to undo that subtraction with addition. When I add 8, I have to be sure to add 8 to all three pieces. So that's going to give me negative 4 is less than n, which is less than or equal to 2. This is already in order from smallest to biggest, so I can write it in set builder notation. I solved for n, and I have it in order from smallest to biggest. When I draw my number line, I have my negative 4 and my 2. That symbol in between negative 4 and n is just a less than symbol, so I'm going to put an open circle. That symbol in between n and 2 is less than or equal to, so because it has the equal to, it needs to be a closed circle, and I shade in between the two of them.